What a beautiful day of stories. I feel so lucky to be here, and I really appreciate you all being here to be part of this one that I want to share. Now, I don't play the guitar like JT or the harp like Lisette, and I didn't even bring my kazoo, but Valkyries! Brenna loved being a Valkyrie. She loved flying with her sisters, sometimes on her horse, her winged horse Stormwind. They would fly over the battlefield, and they would find a warrior. She would be pulled by the valiant warrior, their courage, and she would take that warrior from the battlefield in the moment they were slain and guide them to Valhalla, where they could feast at Odin's table and toast with Thor and the rest of the gods for the glory of the battle. And even more than all of those things, Brenna loved her sense of purpose. She knew just who she was, daughter of Odin, and what she was supposed to do. And her life was a cycle where she would fly over battle after battle. They could go to any of the realms, but she spent most of her time in Midgard, our world, because where there are humans, there is likely to be strife and war. And so she would fly around in Midgard, and she would wait to be pulled by that sense of purpose to the valiant warrior. And her immortal life went on like that for a very long time, until one day she was over a battlefield as the day was ending, night had fallen, and she felt a pull toward the sea, toward the shore. There was a farm. Everyone in the family was asleep, but marauders were coming up from the sea to attack that farm. Not everyone was asleep. There was one child who was awake, and Brenna felt that warrior's heart in that child who grabbed a practiced sword and a wooden shield and fought so valiantly. The battle only lasted seconds. And as she took that brave warrior up to Valhalla, she looked into that child's blue eyes, and they were confused and filled with despair. And the little voice said, "Why? Why?" When Brenna left the mead hall, for the very first time, her heart wobbled. Her sense of purpose was pushed out by anger. And in her rage, as she flew to Midgard, she was distracted and she didn't pay attention to where she was flying, and she flew right into a storm. The rain and the wind buffeted her unheeded until she heard Thor's rumbling, and she cursed his name. How could you, Odin and Thor and gods, how could you take the life of a child? It is wasteful, and it is stupid. Now, it is never a good idea to curse the name of a god, but it is particularly foolish to curse Thor while you are flying in a thunderstorm. And lightning hit Brenna from both sides, and she and Stormwind fell like stones to the ground. When she woke up, Stormwind was gone, and everything around her was strange. The world smelled wrong. Where there had been farmland and forests, now there were tall buildings made of glass and steel. And worst of all, she could not find the way to Valhalla. I do not know how long she flew over this labyrinth of strangeness, decades or centuries. Sometimes she would sing to herself to remind her of her old world. From the light to darkest shadow, I fly. From the living and the dead, I fly. I am so lonely, sisters gone. I am so lost, all hope is gone. From the living and the dead, I fly. And so it went, until one day she was flying over a forest. It reminded her of home. But this one was dry, and she could smell smoke. And then she felt it, for the first time that she could remember. She felt it again. That pull toward a valiant warrior. But when she found them, they were not dressed in silver mail or armor. They were wearing some kind of fire-resistant cloth. Their head was covered with a hood, and their sooty face had a mask in front of it. But oh, she could feel that brave and valiant heart, as brave as any Viking she had ever known. And the warrior was fighting not with sword and shield, but with a hose. They were fighting a beast that was enormous and consuming everything in its path. Fire and smoke, and this warrior, Ilara, was fighting to save a group of people, leading them out of the flames. But while Brenna watched, the wind changed, and the smoke and the flames sealed off the only way to safety. Well, Brenna didn't even think, she just acted on instinct, and for the first time in her life, she used her magic not to ride the wind, not to raise a soul to Valhalla, but to push against the wind. And as she pushed, an opening in the smoke and flame appeared, and Ilara led her people to safety. This was better than the glory of war. This started to fill Brenna's heart again. She spent all of her time with Ilara. She would help her where she could, staying an invisible guardian, sometimes just lending her strength when she was most in danger. But as she stayed in Ilara's life, she saw her with her friends and family, laughing and crying and being so human. And at last, Brenna realized she had fallen in love with this shield maiden. And so with a breath of great resolve, she materialized in front of Ilara. in all her splendor with her wings and her shining silver mail shirt. And Alara looked up at her and she did not scream, and she did not run away or fall down. She said, "I knew it. I knew you were real." And she reached out with just 2 fingers and touched Brenna's face. "Who are you?" And Brenna, I was a Valkyrie, but I have lost my purpose. Oh no. Alara held out her arms and she took Brenna into them. "You have a new purpose." And Brenna felt her heart fill with a new destiny. And with her next breath, her silver chain mail turned into a flannel shirt and blue jeans. And from then on, she was not a lost or fallen Valkyrie. She was Alara's Valkyrie. From the dead back to the living, I fly, I fly. My heart is wide as the sky above. It's filled with hope and filled with love. From the shadow to the light, I fly, I fly.